Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Camera Tuesday. In today's episode we're gonna take a look at Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Yeah, that name is really that long. So in my last episode we talked about cinema camera. So what is this idea? This idea is a cinema camera that is very cheap. To give you a context, they're supposed to be costing less than $1,400 and you can buy it. Like right now you can just go and buy it from shops, from Amazon, from Blackmagic itself, and you will be paying less than that. To give you a context how cheap that is cheaper than GH5, Sony 7 Mark III. So this is flat out the cheapest cinema camera there is. Now this also comes with the fact that it allows you to record ProRes and gives you a full fledged software that we call the DaVinci Resolve. Now if you are not familiar with DaVinci Resolve, think of it this way: it is an alternate to Adobe Premiere and it is on the same level if not higher than Adobe Premiere, because this is a very old software which has been refined for cinema use for a very long time. So this is like a tested technology and many movie go through this. And to give you another idea, like Sony flat out does not give you 4K 60 frames per second, neither does Canon, neither does Nikon, and this is the only one that does that. You might say GH5 also does that, but does not does that at ProRes. So this is the idea. At this point, as I'm making this video, this is the cheapest cinema camera that you can buy. So okay, so what is it? Like nothing can be like this perfect. So you have to understand this gives you what we call cinema cameras. What is that cinema camera? If you have checked my last episode, you simply will understand. The sensor data that is coming from the sensor goes to your memory without compression, or as least least tempered as possible. Basically they will not compress it as how badly your let's say your camera sensor may be giving data at 2 or 5 gigabytes per second. Your memory would be recording at 100 or 200 megabytes per second. So you can understand in cinema camera that bandwidth is very rarely tampered with. So sometimes you can literally have footage that is gigabyte per second. So this is what this camera is giving you. Now in terms of I already specified in cinema cameras like this Red Apex and all that, the user interface is very painful to understand. Like it takes time. However, if you are even a Sony user, you also know that it took time. Blackmagic on the other hand broken this mold. Like Blackmagic, whoever uses it, whether they like it or not like it, they will always say this: the user interface, it's mind-bogglingly awesome. What does that mean? Basically you will know what you need to know. So to give you a context, basically there are two 4K formats: 4K DCI and Ultra HD, which is 4K. So how would you know which 4K do you want? Because it flat out on the menu screen it specifies the resolution. It's like both of them have 2160 as in terms of height, but their width is different. So flat out on the menu you will know what do you need to know. So this is amazing. Like Blackmagic did an awesome job in this. Now then again, cameras always are limited by the lens. So lens also, they are giving you micro four third lens selection. Basically whatever micro four third is there, be it from Panasonic, be it from Olympus, it will work on it. So that's what it is, basically giving you bandwidth from your sensor to your data, similar to Red Apex, and giving you lens selection and giving you the best user interface out there. So for whom it is? Now it is a very kind of a learning tool. Basically you should buy it if you are a student or low budget production. If you are like doing things like this, you're not gonna afford Red Epic or Ursa Mini or things of that nature. Professional cameras, they are very expensive. However, this will teach you how a movie production works. Movie production is completely different from your YouTube production. So this will give you that idea, and not to mention because it comes with proper software, which is very useful. Let's say you are doing some commercial work, you want to make sure you have the license for the software, because those are not cheap. Even this software itself is $300 to $900 depending on how you buy it, and this is very necessary for color grading. This is DaVinci Resolve's greatest addition to digital cinema. They allowed color grading on a level that people could not even imagine that was possible. If you want to learn color grading, this package, as in this camera and software, is the best you can buy at this point, and it is very cheap. So let's say you are a student in learning, cinematography and all that, and you want to actually understand what people say about, like, skin tone is a bit warm, romantic movies have this kind of feel to it, all that. This tool flat out will let you understand this. No other camera at this point, at this price, comes close to touching this. So flat out, if you want to learn color grading, you need data, and you might say, oh, why can't I download from internet? Problem is, you haven't seen it. Like, camera has recorded the video and you're seeing the video, but you haven't seen how the leaf's supposed to look. So once you are out there, your eyes is giving you a data point. Okay, the leaf's supposed to be, let's say, sap green or bright green. You have to be there, because after color grading, you will not know. You need a feedback loop. That feedback loop is there if you have the camera itself. So this allows you to do that. And software is also great, because I already told you, if you want to compete against Premiere, Adobe Premiere, this is the only option, tangibly speaking, that you have. Of course, there are others also, but this is pretty good. So for that, what it is not, this is part I want to emphasize. If you are thinking about buying this, understand this. This is not a pocket camera. Even though it says pocket camera, it's not a pocket camera. Any camera other than this, basically, that allows you 4K recording, be it Nikon, Canon or Sony or Panasonic, they will outperform this 100 times. Because this camera is a cinema camera. It does not even have good quality autofocus, does not have image stabilization, does not have large lens selection. And on top of that, the worst thing that I have noticed about this is, like, everybody's complaining about poor battery. Now you might be like, okay, it has so many things, it has an actual fan cooling this components, it must be very poor in battery life. That's not what I'm referring here. The problem is, it will show battery 50% and it will randomly shut off. I have provided the link down below, you can check it out. And this is problematic. Like, basically, you can't count on it. And that's with own battery, like battery that is coming with Blackmagic itself. People are saying they are getting better battery readout with Canons and other third party, but that's the whole point. The battery that is coming with the system is not giving you accurate reading. Your camera can literally shut off even at 50%, or the moment it approaches 20%, yeah, it's shut down, and it does not do a safe shutdown. Basically, it will not say, okay, stop recording, save the file, and then safely shut down. It will not do that. It will just randomly cut. So that's very dangerous. And if you're doing like action scenes and things of that nature, you can't redo action scene again and again. So this is very crucial. So if you are really serious about this, and if you are doing any sort of paid work, I would urge you to get what we call V-grip batteries. This is for cinema grade. That's why I'm saying this is a complete cinema grade. Cinema industry relies on these sort of batteries, even for Red Epic or Ursa Mini. So you can rely on these much more effectively than you can rely on the battery that comes with itself. Because if you compare this with, let's say, Sony Alpha series, they can give you 2 to 3 hours of video recording in 4K in 30 frames per second. You will barely get 30 to 50 minutes in 4K 30 frames per second using this, the included battery. That pissed me off. It's like they're using Canon battery. Why you are using Canon battery? You can use just two 18650s. And you might be like, okay, that has a different voltage. No, that's the same principle that with every lithium-ion battery. So that is very bad. On top of that, the screen, it's fixed. Now this is very problematic, because you might be like, okay, I don't need flip out screen. But let's say your camera is down below or up above, because most of the time you will try to shoot cameras from this level. And you can see in movies, the camera is here. Camera is never eye level. Rarely they put camera in eye level. So when you do that, when you put camera, let's say your waist level, how are you going to see the screen? Screen is big, everything is awesome, but screen is fixed. Heck, Sony screen gives you tiltable option, so you can tilt it out and you're like, okay. And if you pay attention to the camera body, it literally looks like an independent module. It is an independent module. They just, to save money, they removed that hinging mechanism. So this is kind of bad. Like, they did not need to remove that. If they had made sure that screen was tilting and, like, gives you the ability to flip it out or flip it outwards, that would have been awesome. If it had an option of tilting just up and down, that also would have been awesome. That would have made the camera much more ready to use. Because as of now, as I talk to you, if I have also provided video rig descriptions down below also, people need something like this, basically where they have their own third party, what we call monitor, or sometimes they have a recorder also. So when you're adding about those thousand of things, when you have to buy a recorder which costs $500 to $600, your money saving is no longer there. And to make sure you get high quality glass, you have to go to Canon, because Canon makes cinema lenses and their full frame lenses very good. So how do you gonna attach that? You have to buy what we call speed booster. Again, this is also like, a very expensive equipment. So by the end of it, by the time you have a fully fledged ready to use camera, it would have been very, very expensive. So at this point, be mindful of this. This only gives you one good thing, that there is no alternative of, like, you can't get ProRes out of a camera easily. Now you can do that with Nikon. Nikon does allow 10-bit output, and Panasonic does allow 10-bit output from their HDMI. So if you have to buy a recorder, basically, I would urge you to look into those camera, because you will have better lens selection, better autofocus system, image stabilization, and other things like that. So this is kind of odd for me, because I wanted to like this camera. I'm really happy about this camera, but this is one of those examples where people say, no, things should be simple, but not any simpler. They cut down the cost way too much, like little bit more, just $100 to $200 more with a better battery management system, with a flip out screen would have made it awesome. Now there are many things that it's not needed in this, like a USB-C SSD option. Again, if they were relying on that, they could have removed the SD card system, because be mindful, this camera needs a specific format, basically the physical format. You can't record ProRes in your SD card, pardon me, RAW in your SD card. So to have the highest quality recording, you either has to rely on that CFast card or on the SD card, basically SSD that you can plug using USB-C. So be mindful, like, this camera is not pocket camera, and if you want to do something run and gun or one man kind of army kind of scenario, you're gonna be spending so much money that the other end you will be like, did I really save money? Now again, if you are a film student, if you want to learn color grading, if this is gonna be your bread and butter, this is the best camera. Other than that, for everybody else, I would say stay away from this. So this was my presentation on Blackmagic pocket camera. I hope you liked it or learned from it. In that case, please leave a like. If you didn't, don't worry about it, you can dislike it. I would urge you to leave a comment, as I reply to all of them. Please subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.